Carrie, could you start with the roll, please?
Charles Kruger. Here. Chris Torrey.
Here.
Michael Corley.
Here.
Larry Stilson.
Larry.
Stilson.
Here.
Joel Dendu.
I can't hear Carrie.
Can you hear me now?
Here. Yes.
Sorry, we're sharing a mic. I would like to ask anyone who is attending virtually, if you're not a board member, if you could mute your device until the appropriate item comes up. With that, our first item of business is the election of officers. Could I have a motion for chairman of the Board of Zoning Appeals?
Yeah, I would like to nominate for chairman, Chris
I move that Larry Stilson be appointed.
All right, so let's do this one at a time. So Chuck Kruger nominated Mr. Torty, and Joel Dendu nominated Mr. Stilson. So are there any other nominations? I'm sorry?
Let me just say that I would have to respectfully decline because of the number of meetings that I'll miss on the in-person basis. So I would rather not assume that position given that information.
Very good. With that decline, are there any other nominations? If not, we'll close nominations. Could we have a vote, please? Carrie, could you call the roll on Chris Torty as chairman of the Board of Zoning Appeals?
Charles Kruger.
Is this for Chris?
Yes.
Yes.
Joel Dendu.
I don't think they can hear you.
Joel
This is
Dendu.
Larry Stilson, yes. This is
Yes.
Larry Stilson, yes.
Okay, thank you, Larry. Joel.
Yes.
Mike Portlees.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for serving, and I'll turn the meeting over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that, and thank you for all your help with everything you do. So welcome board members, staff, appellants, and citizens to the January 11th Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. Introduction of staff. We have Ken Prince, our city planner, to my right. David Bent, our legal counsel, back in the seats to my left. We have Derek Spear, senior planner, and Carrie Myers, our secretary. And we appreciate all of their work and everything that they do.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes.
We discussed this at the Planning Commission level, so I apologize for the board that didn't hear it. But we had a restructuring in the department, so I am currently the director.
That's what I
And
want.
why Derek is sitting over there is Derek is the new city planner.
Yep.
So
I didn't know if that took into
as of
effect.
January 1, that took effect. So,
Got it. Okay.
and the other thing we'll need, you may already be doing this, but we'll need a vice chair for the year as well.
Okay. Okay, so before we continue, are there nominations for a vice chair out of the board members? Nominations? Anybody?
We need someone.
I nominate Joel.
And that sounds good. Any other nominations? Hearing none, let's take a vote on Joel. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none opposed, congratulations, Joel. You are the vice chairman of this board.
Thank you.
Okay, the rules and procedures are up to my left. So how we're going to do things is we're going to have a presentation by the appellant. For each item, we will ask those participating in the room to speak first, followed by those participating online. And then we will have those who wish to speak in favor of the appeal. And after all of those people spoke, we'll hear from the people who wish to speak against the appeal. If you don't know whether you're speaking for or against, I suggest you do it at the against slot. And then what we'll do is we'll accumulate all of our questions, and then we'll have the appellant have a right of rebuttal to answer all the questions, and we'll just do that one time. Then we'll have a board discussion and a board vote. And the previous minutes were distributed from the December meeting. And were there any corrections or additions to the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor of approving those minutes, say aye.
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 And that passes. Opposed? Not hearing none, that passes. Are there any conflict of interest on any of the public hearings or any of the items on the agenda tonight by the board members?
Not here.
Hearing none,
No.
we'll roll right into our first public hearing, which is Appeal 21-43. An appeal submitted by somebody needs to mute their microphone or mute their phone in between things. Larry, it might be you, maybe, I'm not sure.
There's nothing here.
Okay. I'll repeat this. Public Appeal 21-43, an appeal submitted by VFW Post 360 requesting a developmental variance for vacant property located at the northeast corner of Jefferson Boulevard and Maplehurst Avenue to allow reduced parking for 8 residential homes and accessory buildings. Note that this is continued from the last December 14th meeting. Hi, name and address
Good
for
evening.
the record.
Greg Sharon, Dan Sharon Associates, 1643 Commerce Drive, South Bend, Indiana. Here tonight representing VFW Mishawaka Post 360 for a parking variance located at the northeast corner of Jefferson Boulevard and Maplehurst Avenue. To give some background on the project, the VFW, which is right across the street on Jefferson Street, wants to develop a project for veterans, some housing for veterans, transitional type housing for veterans. The project will consist of 8 units, small apartment type units, probably around 700, 800 square feet in size. You can see the layout on the screen. It'll be centered around a central courtyard. The variance we are asking for tonight is a reduction from parking from the required 1.5 ratio parking space per unit to 1. We anticipate 8 parking spaces. That will give 1 parking space per unit. Just the nature of the project, 1 parking space should be enough to meet the needs of the residents there. And if there is a need for additional parking, the VFW is right across the street that they can park and utilize. So with that, if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. James Merritt is here from the VFW who is spearheading the project. So if you have any specific questions about the project or the organization, he'll be glad to answer those.
Thank you. Questions from the board members?
Well, the veterans, are they have to serve in a foreign war or something to have access to this?
I believe it's just for any veteran,
Any veteran?
Yep.
Okay,
whether they serve or not.
okay, thank you.
The only question I have reading through, talked about on-street parking, but Maplehurst seems to have a no parking sign the whole length of that. Is that something the city would consider removing? Or do you know why it's there?
I don't know. That would be the question for, I assume it's been there for ages and there was some reason for that. But like I said, the VFW is right across the street, and so there's no problem for them to park and utilize that.
I know it's not an issue, I mean,
Yeah,
and I'm new here, so I'm asking questions.
Okay.
You know, that's 5 lanes of traffic.
Right.
You know, I'm sure that, you know, a much safer alternative would be parking along Maplehurst. But currently Maplehurst has that sign, excuse me, right at the corner of Jefferson, and Maplehurst, no parking here at a corner
right,
going, that'd be north, I believe.
okay,
I think that's probably something we should address from a safety issue.
okay. That's something that we can look into with the engineering department, see if they will allow, some parking on Maplehurst, just up along that block if need be.
And will you contractually limit 1 spot per home when these people rent or buy or whatever they're doing?
I believe that would be the case, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, so if there's a spouse or a kid with a car, you get 1
Yeah.
spot, the other one has to,
And James might be able to
I'll be able to.
verify that,
With that,
but,
sir.
okay,
so.
great.
Mike, this is transitional, so
Sure.
a lot of the residents might not even have a car. They might, rely on public transportation also. So, but that's something that James would be able to address.
But great project. I love the concept. I really love the concept.
Now, are these veterans renting or buying?
That's my apologies, but that is in the petition, that is incorrect. There will be no rental fee at all during the transitional time.
You know what, we'll have you come up to the microphone because it's not on the record if you're not there because it's recorded all through there. Are there any more questions for Mr. Sharon? Nope, thank you very much. Is there anybody else in the room wishing to speak in favor of this? Appeal 21-43. Name and address, please.
Jim Method, 10291 Charles Street, Osceola, Indiana. It's a pleasure being back. Presented in June of 20, and it went over marvelously. We've decided to move the location for financial reasons. The previous property would have taken probably $200,000 worth of prep work just to make it suitable to build a home. We're happy to say since launching our website and fundraiser November of last year, we've raised over $170,000, which includes a sponsorship of an entire home. The homes themselves won't be the 600 to 700 square feet, as Greg mentioned. We're looking more along the lines of 350 to 400 square feet per home, an efficiency apartment, so to speak, with a bedroom and then common area with the living room and the kitchen area. Wanted to make sure that that was clear on it. We have an established operational board of all 5 of us are veterans. We have an executive board, of which one is a veteran, a lawyer at Notre Dame, as well as one other local business owner. We didn't have an opportunity to submit this, but we have established rules and expectations for each resident. Each guest will adhere to these. They will sign them before they come in to be a part of the transitional housing unit. We have, like I said, the strict rules. We've reached out to various organizations. Work One veteran representative will come bi-weekly to assist the guests of the subdivision to seek employment so they can become a gainful member of our community again. We have verbal commitment from Bethel University as well as Pastor Mario Sims, which is also a Marine veteran, that for spiritual guidance to come in when needed. We have a commitment from Scott Leeper, another veteran, for financial planning. This is a transitional opportunity. We have spoke to other facilities in the country, and the typical transition time is anywhere from 14 to 20 months. So we don't know, our community could be different. But we're trying to combat veteran homelessness. Right now, we still have probably 70 veterans on the streets in our county.
Wow.
And we're trying to combat that. And I welcome any questions.
Are those recently discharged vets, or is that the whole
I don't
gamut?
have that data, sir. It's anything from living in Miller's Veterans Center to living in a Life Treatment Center to being on the streets themselves.
Okay. Wonderful, wonderful project.
Yeah. Was your proposal discussed with the VFW?
Yes, sir. They are the current property owners. Where we're intending to, we would like to put this property up. And they have been just marvelous in working with us, the commander, the quartermaster both. The facility is open 7 days a week. We anticipate the veterans there being able to go there for camaraderie. And it's just something about the brotherhood and sisterhood that they want to help the fellow veterans.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any
very
further
welcome.
questions? No, thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir.
Is there anybody else in the room or online wishing to speak in favor of Appeal 21-43? Is there anybody in the room wishing to speak against Appeal 21-43? Come on up, one at a time. We'll start on this row in the front. Come on up. Hello, name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Jose Montes de Oca, 1315 East Borley Avenue, which is directly next door.
Okay,
So
let me
this-
put you on hold for 1 second. I want to make sure
Spell your
Carrie
last
got
name,
that.
please.
It's MONTES space DE space OCA.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I live right next to the plan proposal. Troop Town sounds like a wonderful organization. I support it. I'm currently with the 38th ID. I'm a National Guardsman. I understand and, the homeless vets and the help they need. The location doesn't seem right. Doesn't seem like it fits in a established residential area. I have my neighbor that's here as well, and we just didn't like the idea of that being there, just in that specific area. Maybe somewhere on a busier street, let's say like they proposed before on Jefferson, but they had their reasons. Transitional, meaning they're going to be in and out, concerns me. I have grandkids, and I wouldn't want them to, I just don't want any issues or problems, arguing or just any problems. Where I live now, it's quiet. There's hardly any police presence. It's a low, quiet, community block. There is, I hear what they say as far as they're gonna be screening the vets and stuff, and we want to make sure that they are, there's resources for them. I don't think, we live between Fur Road and Cedar. There's no Walgreens for them to get toiletries. We live like in a very secluded area. The closest Walgreens is over by Main Road and McKinley. Where would they get their food? They don't have transportation. So we have to take in consideration things like that. I'm for it, but I just don't, it's not a good fit in that area.
Thank you. Is there any questions?
It's a point of clarification for me.
Yep.
You're addressing the concept of the property itself. Did this require rezoning previously to put it there? Did that come before this board for? Because we're talking about parking tonight, so I think that the issue for the property being there has probably been established.
Can I mention one more thing too? You said about parking. They haven't plowed Borley Avenue for the 2 years that I've been there. Like today, coming out of my driveway, Borley Avenue, it hasn't been plowed. And Maplehurst, same deal. When I come home from work, it's like, so imagine if there's cars parked there and their streets are still slippery with black ice or whatever, it's going to cause a safety issue, yes.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, the first item on the planning commission this evening is the rezoning of the property. So to answer the question, the parking is what's being considered by the board. The use of the property is what's being considered by the planning commission this evening.
And that hasn't been established yet.
It has not been established yet.
Okay, thank you. And what we'll do is we'll go ahead and keep all these questions and have them, address them in a rebuttal. I wrote them down, make sure they hit all these points.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next? Hi.
Good evening. My name is Alan Ritchie. I live at 1327 East Borley Avenue. I am a resident of that same area. I live 3 lots down from the proposed building site. I've been a resident there for 13 years. And as the previous gentleman mentioned, it's a very nice, quiet residential street with primarily single-family homes in that whole area. We like our quiet, peaceful surroundings, and I don't think that, while I admire the effort behind this to find places for homeless veterans to to get a jump start on getting back into the mainstream, I don't think it's a good fit for a primarily residential, quiet neighborhood. One of my primary concerns is the effect that this may have on our property values. I know that I've spoken with a number of other people that live in the area, and I did not find anyone that was an advocate for it, or felt that it was a good fit. The property values there, I feel, would be detrimentally affected by a homeless facility there. And that's my primary concern from a residential point of view. I'd also like to find out, what other areas in the city have been considered for this, because I don't feel that it's a good fit for where it's currently being proposed.
Great.
That's all I have for now.
Okay, any questions? Nope, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi.
My name is Marcy Ritchie. I'm at 1327 East Borley Avenue. I understand there's two meetings, and so we're talking a lot about parking at this one. And it brings up a concern of mine. That was my husband that previously spoke. We've been there for 13 years. The VFW uses that land right there several times throughout the year for overflow parking for their events. So that's one of the concerns I have, is what is the plan then for parking if that is no longer available? That's then going to spill out all down Maplehurst and Borley Avenues, and just going to create another situation, an impact, you could say, that just needs to be brought to, people's minds as we're considering this, the impact that this facility in this neighborhood would have. It's a single-family neighborhood. The city has been at work in that neighborhood, in that area for a while. I don't have the dates completely in mind, but I know along Borley Avenue, those are first-time homebuyer homes, and that started, I think, about 2006. I know I moved into mine in 2008, and have been there since. If you go, get my directions straight, if you go west of Merrifield, and it's still south of Jefferson, there's a neighborhood in there that I don't know how long ago that was developed in there, in that area, as a way to revitalize the area. And then, of course, you've got the Habitat for Humanity neighborhood that's further east than there on Burkett. So it just, it's just a little concerning that with all the effort the city's put into creating these single-family neighborhoods that develop us, this would go in, a multi-unit, there's my thoughts, a multi-unit, multiple people living there with cars and, things like that. So there's that concern that I have, as well as the parking concern. So, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here wishing to speak against the appeal?
I will tell you, public speaking is not my strong point, but I'm going to give it my best shot.
That's okay. We work for you, so take your time, and name and address, please.
I want to go on the record, first of all, as saying I have great respect and admiration for these gentlemen here.
Yep, just name and, she
I'm
needs
sorry,
to type that in first.
Jill Schroeder, 1316 East Jefferson.
Okay, continue.
Okay. Again, I want to go on the record as saying how much I admire this program. Their hearts are so in the right place. None of us have a problem with the program. Our problem is where it's going to be located. I don't want to bore anybody, but the house that I live in it's right next to the lot. So Jose is behind me, I'm in front. Okay? So this is really going to impact me a lot. That whole area, going back to the toll road at one time, was my grandfather's farm. It was actually called Maplehurst Farm.
Oh, yeah.
And my great-uncle built the home that I live in. So I basically, for most of my 66 years, have strong ties to the house I live in. I grew up in that house, the whole area in general. I've watched it grow. I've watched the redevelopment back in the, I want to say the 90s, somewhere around in there, where they went in and built these really nice homes, and then some of the property that my grandfather left my mother, she sold those lots to the city, which is where they built some of these first-time buyer homes as well, where the Richies live, where Jose lives. They're beautiful homes. Everyone maintains their property well. It's a very well, old, established neighborhood. And I just don't know that this is something that, you know, belongs in this spot. You know, we have this on the screen, but that doesn't tell any of us what it's actually going to look like. That's a concern for me. I'm sure it's a concern for all the neighbors, because we take pride in our homes and how they look. So cosmetically, of course, as a female as well, you know, I want to know, what am I going to be looking at for the rest of my life? Because I intend to live there the rest of my life. So, you know, that would satisfy my mind. I've seen some drawings, but nothing is set in stone. I just think that maybe even the property, the original property down closer to where Reggio's is being sold now, would be a better fit.
Right, right. And you know, the only thing that we got to make sure we understand is what's before us as a board is simply the parking. Do we want to say yes or no to the parking and have that discussion? And typically these are done before. So can I have a clarification? I mean, so is it normal procedure to do this type of a vote on something that is not zoned that way yet?
It is, because it's the only way we can file it concurrently. So for them to hear everything at one time, the Planning Commission has a function required by law. The Board of Zoning Appeals has a function required by law. They have to be two separate meetings. They have to be two different boards.
But they're
Asking
usually
for
done
two
like
different
this,
things,
okay.
but doing them the same night, the same time, and that makes sense.
Understood. So thank you for that clarification. So to kind of bring everything together for this meeting and what's before this board is simply to allow reduced parking for the 8 residential homes. So that's what we're voting on in this meeting. And then to change the zoning to R3 is the meeting after this.
So I have to do this over again.
Yes.
But you did so well.
All right.
But thank you. Thank you.
You're very
Appreciate
welcome.
it.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else in the room wishing to speak against Appeal 21-43? Hi.
I'm going to jump in here on board real quick, and I know that you specified, my name is Tammy McCullough, and I live at 1321 East Borley. And I know, as you have specified, that this is just for parking purposes. I know that the VFW across the way from me owns this lot, and they have had special events where people have used that parking spot as extra backup, so to say. And they have filled the streets as well when there's not enough in this lot, which is all well and good. My concern, off the cuff, is that if they have those special events and they are now selling this property, what is going to happen with parking for their special events if they don't have this lot?
And that is.
I mean, I can go on with other concerns about this lot, and it's great that they have these special events. And are they selling the lot to make money for the VFW? I mean, I don't know, because this is a big subject. And I'm neighbors with the Richies, and I'm neighbor with Jose, obviously. It is a concern.
Sounds,
Where are they going to go if they can't park in that lot for their special events because they only have so much across the way? I mean, they do great business. They've had motorcycle rides and all of that. And people come and they do their special events and they park on the street and they park in the lot and all of that. So,
yep, that question will be added to the appellant's rebuttal. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the room wish to speak against Appeal 21-43? Oh, come on up. Oh, come on up to the podium. Oh,
Is this strictly for parking only?
yeah, name and address there.
Okay, Mary Sisti,
Did you get the last name?
1127 East Borley Avenue.
Last name one more time.
Sisti, S-I-S-T-I.
Great.
So my main concerns are very similar to my counterparts who live in the same area as we do, my husband and I. So parking is probably my least issue because I'm not directly a part or set aside from the VFW. It's just a block away. But we're more on the southeastern side of the block. It's more of a parent issue, a safety issue. No one has addressed the reason why veterans become homeless. So my main question that I will address and voice as a parent will be what day is this? Because the parking is not my issue. So is there another meeting that we can
Yep,
discuss?
there's one at 7 o'clock.
At 7 tonight?
Directly after this meeting.
Can we just cancel our plans? We have plans at 7:30, so I was like, oh, I want to at least address it. So we'll stay.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you. Is there anybody else in the room wishing to speak against Appeal 21-43? Is there anybody online wishing to speak against Appeal 21-43? That brings us to the right of rebuttal by the appellant.
Thanks again. Jim Method. I don't know if we should wait until the actual zoning at 7 o'clock, sir, but I can address some of the concerns that they have asked. Our property will be maintained by a caretaker 24/7. It's not going to be a free-for-all at the property. Like you said, ma'am, we don't know any reason why veterans are homeless. Our mission is to assist that veteran and get him back on his or her feet. I would also like to mention that we're not here representing the VFW. We're here representing Mishawaka Trooptown. We're proposed to purchase the property from the VFW, but we are all three on the board from Mishawaka Trooptown. I shared some of the pictures with Jill of our ideas of what the homes would look like. Originally, we involved Penn High School Architectural and Mishawaka High School Architectural, and they came back with some really exotic foo-foo homes that might fit in Granger. And we understand that, and we welcome that. The homes that we are proposing are going to fit perfectly into the neighborhood. So I don't know, were there any other questions, sir, on there that you could see that
So-
would be applied to this one?
Specifically about parking in the special events, can you address that, please?
The special events, again, I'm not representing VFW, but I'm also involved, I'm the president of another nonprofit, Give Way for a Vet. Those are the events that they're talking about, and we're no longer holding those events there. We've moved our event for space reasons to the Eagles on Ironwood Road. So those are the events that overflow park into that parking lot. I truly do not believe that many of our residents will have a vehicle. We have a vehicle that was donated to the nonprofit, the organization, for purposes of doctor's appointments, groceries being picked up, any of the necessities needed. So an individual donated a truck to us. So we have an on-premise vehicle for emergencies or any other needs, and it's on a bus line. So the proximity to a Walgreens or whatever else was mentioned really shouldn't factor. I know that a lot of the concern, a lot of the comments that were made, we just don't know. It's a great, marvelous initiative, but just not in our area. And I'm not trying to be harsh, but in any subdivision, any neighborhood, a resident doesn't necessarily get to pick their neighbor. However, in our subdivision, we will handpick each one of our guests. We have strict guidelines. There won't be any previous felonies. There's no drugs, a strict no firearms. There's a strict policy that they will adhere to or they will be removed. We went through all of our bylaws, all of our agreements through an attorney, and it'll be our right to have them vacate the property immediately.
Thank you. Is
You're
there any
welcome.
questions for Mr. Method? Is, Mr. Prince, is there, or, I'm sorry, Mr. Spear, is there any remonstrance letters?
No, there's no remonstrance letters.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
So this closes the public hearing. Is there any board discussion by the members? Any?
Yes, this is Larry Stilson. I am concerned about the impact that overflow parking could have in the community, in the surrounding community. Total of 8 parking places does not seem to be enough potentially. And as I said, I'm concerned with how overflow parking would affect the residents living around this particular project.
Thank you. No, we're good. Thank you, Mr. Stilson. I appreciate that. Any other discussions from the board members?
You know, my initial thoughts, and I think I'm correct in this, and Kent, I'm going to look to you. If we look at this as an island, regardless where it's at, I think the where it's at is going to be the question for the planning commission. The what it is and how it's used is for this board. You know, I have no problem with the 8 parking spots for this area. If planning commission decides that it's the wrong place for it, then it can be somewhere else. And I still think 8 parking spots for this concept is okay. I think we can't mix the two thoughts. The overflow parking is later. You know, I think the neighborhood is later, but for what we have tonight, I believe the parking is the only question. And I think that 8 spots is going to be appropriate for this use.
Mr. Chairman, I would just confirm that Mr. Portales is correct in the assessment that this is only about parking and not about the use. The use would be
Correct.
reviewed by the planning commission.
Yep, I concur with that.
Thank you.
Charles, did you have something?
Yeah, well, I can't detach myself from the parking problem because if this thing goes in, it creates another problem. And we had problems like on Lincoln Way West here in town with the restaurant that shouldn't have been allowed there in the first place. And it ended up causing big problems in the neighborhood because people that lived there couldn't find a parking place for their residents. And so, you know, I'm all for what the concept is, the veterans and all that. I don't think anybody could object to that. But if it's causing a problem in the neighborhood, then I'm concerned. You know, I don't want to create another problem to appease this project. And that's why it's hard for me to detach that from this. So that's my feeling on it.
Thank you. That's very good insight. Very good insight. Any more discussions? If not, I will take a motion on Appeal 21-43.
Motion to move to a vote? Is it appropriate?
Yeah, you would You would say, I move to approve or deny 21-40.
I move to approve Appeal 21-43.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Joel. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Carrie, would you poll?
Charles Kruger,
No.
Mike Portalease,
Yes.
Chris Torty,
Yes.
Larry Stilson,
No.
Joel Dendu.
Yes.
So that passes with 3 votes. And reminding everybody that's here that the Plan Commission meeting is next, where we vote on the rezoning of the property. That moves us to Appeal 21-44. This appeal is requested to be moved to February 8th meeting. Can I have a motion to move that out?
So moved.
Second? Anybody?
We'll second that.
Second, Larry Stilson.
And we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, that successfully moved to February. That moves us to Appeal 21-45, an appeal submitted by C and D LLC requesting a developmental variance for 920 and 812 South Logan Street for reduced separation between proposal storage facility and residentially owned property from 250 feet to 25 feet. Hello.
Hello, my name's Jeff Ballard. I'm with Dan Charter and Associates. We're located at 1643 Commerce Drive in South Bend. I'm representing C&D LLC as they asked for this variance. Just a quick overview of what we're trying to accomplish here. Currently on this site, in the northeast corner of Logan 11th Street is essentially an abandoned industrial manufacturing facility. The contingent purchaser wants to go in and improve the site and place a self-storage facility there. Right now, the current plan could go either way as far as raising all the buildings or potentially keeping a few of the buildings that are structurally sound to reuse. I think it's probably going to be the fact that they're going to probably end up removing all the buildings and starting over. They may use some of the existing slabs as floor and foundation for those facilities, but they're still analyzing that. It's in the process right now. But in order to maximize the property, we're asking for that variance to reduce from the 250 setback down to the 25 feet. A couple of comments from engineering as they've reviewed this project so far. They've asked for an additional 5 foot of right-of-way along Logan Street so that we can put in a tree lawn and a sidewalk. Also working with the contingent purchaser, the buildings that are going to be placed there will be, of course, up to all the Mishawaka standards for architectural standards for color and material. We will bring the site up to code for drainage and landscape as well. And security for the facility will be 100% taken care of around the entire perimeter as well. So if I can answer any questions you may have, I'd be happy to do that.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Ballard?
Not really.
Is this multi-story?
Nope, single story.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else in the room wishing to speak in favor of Appeal 21-45? Anybody online wishing to speak for Appeal 21-45 in favor? Is there anybody in the room wishing to speak against Appeal oops, I'm reading the wrong one, 21-40, no, 21-45, I am reading the right one. Against 21-45, either in person or online? Hearing none, are there any?
No additional comment.
Okay, great. That closes the public hearing and brings us to board discussion on this. Any questions, concerns, or notes from the board members? Hearing none, I will accept a motion on Appeal 21-45.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve Appeal 21-45.
Chuck Kruger. I need a second.
Second.
Joel Dendu. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, that passes unanimously. That brings us to Appeal 21-46, an appeal submitted by Kruk Real Estate Holdings LLC requesting a developmental variance for 2123 Lynn Street for reduced front lot width for proposed Lot 2 of Kirk Minor subdivision from 60 feet to 50 feet. Hello.
Good evening. Greg Sharon, Dan Sharon Associates, 1643 Commerce Drive, South Bend. Here tonight representing Kruk Real Estate Holdings LLC for a variance for front yard frontage. What we're planning on doing is right now the automotive business located on Jefferson, is that Jefferson? Or
McKinley.
Lincoln Way, sorry. Yeah. Lincoln Way, and the house located on the Lynn Street is currently one property. It's one lot. How that came to be, we don't know. So just to clean up the records, we plan on subdividing the property, separating the business from the residential. And when you subdivide property, the ordinance requires that there'll be a minimum of 60 foot of frontage. Right now, we just have 50 feet, so it's a non-conforming type situation. So we're just asking for a variance from that so we could subdivide the property so it could be a legal lot of record.
Any questions for Mr. Sharon? Thank you. Anybody in the room or online wishing to speak in favor of Appeal 21-46? Anybody in the room wishing to speak against Appeal 21-46? Or online? Hearing none, is there any addition? Oops, I'm sorry, come on up. I had the wrong, I was looking through the wrong glasses.
My name's April Dorn. I live at 2119 Lynn Street, which is directly next door to this property. I just kind of have some questions about what exactly they plan on doing, because having a car lot in between two houses in a residential neighborhood, I kind of have a safety issue with that. There's children that live at my home and the home on the corner on McKinley. Just kind of wanted to know, are they going to put a privacy fence up? We can already see cars on the property, in the back of the home. It's just mainly really a safety issue for me, and also, the fact that it's going to decrease the property value. And so we were kind of just wanting to know if they were going to, put up a privacy fence there, or it's kind of a weird fit there. It's like directly in between two houses. And like I said, we can see the cars already in the back of their property. There's a car lot across the street already, which would be Header's car lot. And they've had issues with people breaking into their lot, stealing car parts and such all the time. It seems to be a major problem there. So we were concerned about, people coming onto the property there. Like I said, there's kids in the neighborhood, that kind of thing. So we were just kind of wondering what their plans are as far as,
Yeah, I'm not sure that we'll get into all of that, because what what we're voting on tonight is just reducing that 60 feet to 50 feet. So certainly they'll come up and they'll do a right of rebuttal and answer some of your questions, but I just wanted to make sure you know the only thing that we're voting on is to reduce that from 60 to 50 feet.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, also just to add clarification, the property was actually Zone C4 some time ago.
Right.
So there is no use with that. In fact, they will probably come back and want to rezone the house to residential in order to sell it, because the financer, if they're going to finance it, will likely need to change the zoning of that property back to residential that's adjacent to them. But what they're doing is essentially splitting the property here, so the back portion can be used for the automobile use, and that the front, the house, the existing house would remain residential going forward. So that is really what, and that subdivision that Mr. Sharon spoke of is the reason they have to ask for the variance, because it's all non-conforming right now regarding that 50 feet. It's the fact that they're dividing the property that requires now the variance. But it's really not changing anything that currently exists out there.
Right. Okay.
Regarding the fence issue, that is separate from this board, but just to answer the question, as they would improve that property, they would have to install a fence, but they wouldn't have to install the fence until they would improve that property back. So the fence would go in concurrently with any improvement they would do in the back.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anybody else wishing to speak against Appeal 21-46? Right of rebuttal?
Just to clarify, right now, there's no going to be any changes to the use or improvements to the property, so nothing will change. The home will stay there, the business will stay there, and like Ken mentioned, if the business ever expanded, they would be required to do some fencing or some screening to the residentials to the south.
Thank you. Okay, that closes the public hearing. Is there any discussion amongst the board members on Appeal 21-46? I closed the public hearing.
As I understand it, they're not going to do anything right away. You said that the person will still live in the house and.
Yeah, I mean,
Our understanding is it's just in order to separate the house from the commercial property is the whole reason for this.
yep. Any other?
There's no additional comment, and there was no letters in the file.
Okay, great. So with that, I'll take a vote on Appeal 21-46. A motion.
I make a motion that we approve appeal number 21-46.
I'll
Mike.
second that motion.
Second.
Mike Portalese and Charles Kruger. Carrie, would you pull the commissioners?
Charles Kruger,
Yes.
Chris Torty,
Yes.
Joel Dendu,
Yes.
Larry Stilson,
Yes.
And
Mike
that,
Cordley's.
Yes.
and that passes. Thank you. Moves us to our last appeal that is on the list for today. An appeal submitted by Bocart Properties LLC requesting various development variances for 403 and 411 South Main Street for reduced pavement building setbacks, landscaping, front of lot width, and proposed subdivision property split. Hi.
Hello. Terry Lang from Lang Feeney Whiteman office. Our office is located at 715 South Michigan Street in South Bend. Represent the petitioner here, Bocart Properties. I think just about everybody in Mishawaka is familiar with the property there along the railroad. Mr. Bocart has 2 parcels with 3 buildings on those. He has a potential buyer for one of the buildings, and we're petitioning before you to reconfigure the parcels. The variances that we're asking for are for setbacks and parking the way that all of these are existing conditions that are on the site that we're working with. And this would allow parking for the building that's located up against the railroad and